Well, we kind of knew coming up here. When you're in the Yukon, the weather changes quick, so had a little bit of rain, then it turned to snow. Now it's tapering off, and so we're gonna keep plugging along. You didn't tell me we were going sheep hunting, Nate.
It's high country hunting.
This guy's been in the mountains for a month already, and us flatlanders are just dying out here. I can scale a coulee pretty good for mule deer, but can't say I've ever scaled a mountaintop looking for a moose.
It's just a horseback moose hunt, folks.
If you were to send out a survey to every hunter in Canada and ask them what their #1 bucket list dream hunt would be, I feel quite confident that the #1 answer would almost always be an Alaskan Yukon moose. For myself personally, the answer would have been the same. For as far back as I can remember, the thought of riding horses through the mountains of the Yukon in search of a giant old rutting bull moose was the pinnacle of hunting. A dream that I always held close to my heart, but one that I was never quite sure I would be able to experience. When COVID-19 put the entire world on pause for the fall of 2020, I finally felt like this might be the best opportunity I ever have in my lifetime to make it happen. Now don't get me wrong, there are a ton of hugely successful and renowned outfitters in the Yukon that I would have been happy to hunt with, but there was never any question in my mind of who it would be with if the opportunity presented itself. Mac and Leona Watson are the owners of North Curl Outfitters, and although I had never met Mac before, I've known Leona and her family very well for my entire life. We grew up 6 miles down the road from each other and went to the same school, and although Leona was much older than me, her youngest sister Janelle was a close friend of mine throughout high school. Leona and the entire Darge family are well known and highly respected in our part of the world, and the success of herself and her 4 sisters is something that I've always marveled at. And knowing Leona's background, there was little doubt in my mind that they would run their outfitting business any different. When I decided that this would be the year to finally bite the bullet and make the trip, Leona was the only phone call I made, and 3 months later, I was headed north to finally fulfill that dream.
We're gonna head over to the next spot and slowly work our way around this ridge and stop, glass, and call. It's the name of the game. See if we can find one. It's pretty windy, so I'm assuming Nate figures everything's gonna be timbered up. So we're gonna be just looking and trying to catch glimpses of antler or glimpses of a cow, and once we find something, then the action starts. So just like always, the hardest part is finding them.
Could be the easiest thing if I let it, but I'm too afraid of losing it all. 'Cause if I leave everything on the table, then you might break my heart.
Fatal Impact is proudly sponsored by Covert Scouting Cameras, Vortex Optics, Old Smokes Coffee, Top Notch Taxidermy Studio, and the MD of Bonnieville.
This segment of the show is brought to you by Deluxe Wall Tents, built in Canada for Canadian conditions. This segment of the show is brought to you by Vortex, the force of optics.
The one part that I never expected about this hunt was to be hiking along the tops of the mountains above treeline, glassing and calling down into the meadows below. We were able to cover a ton of ground and spent a pile of time behind our Vortex binos. We were seeing moose every single day and had a few close encounters with younger bulls along the way.
He's got great fronts, but we can do better.
But on the third evening of our hunt, we finally laid eyes on the kind of bull that you travel all the way to the Yukon to hunt. He was too far to make a play that evening, but we were confident that he was going to stick around.
I'm freezing, but those are two of the bigger bulls that we've seen for sure. The first one we watched cruise literally to the step of where we were calling this morning. And then we had another one grunting and cows down low. We could hear them for a while, and then finally he pushed his cows out and he come out, and he's a real good bull too. Back home you couldn't beat me down the mountain to him, but both of them are beautiful moose. The first one I would probably take a swing at if he came close with a bow. And it's probably best we don't go near this other one either, because I might throw an arrow at him too, but we gotta get the ponies down the hill before it gets dark. We walked them up through some nasty stuff and we don't want to take them down in the dark, so we're gonna actually head back to camp, and we're into them. We saw 9-10 moose today. Pile of moose.
Wish on every shooting star that you still come back to my heart. Can you see how we've come so far? Hope you still come back to my heart. Didn't mean to hurt you bad, only did those things so that I could make a little room for us. I wish on every shooting star that you still come back to my heart.
There's a bit of a moose soup going on down there. There's for sure 2 good bulls, 3 cows, 1 small bull. They're running around. We're just catching glimpses of them in the trees. We seen the one come out into an opening real quick, and he's not wide at all, but like take a 60-inch moose and fold his antlers straight up. Craziest looking thing you'll ever see in your life. Like big fronts, long tines, and big deep paddles. Just doesn't go wide. He just comes and curves up. And then there's also another real nice wide one, kind of brushed off on the top, big fronts on him. He was the one that was actively breeding the cow. We would just catch glimpses of him. He'd get up on her, and then they'd scramble. It was impossible to film anything, but we haven't seen that tipped up one in a while. But with all the action going on down there, we know he's there. So we're gonna actually grab the bow and get down into the bottom with him, get the wind in our favor, and work our way through and just challenge. And we're gonna have a bull come in. Just don't know which one it'll be, and see what they look like when they come in at 20 yards or less, hopefully.
Fatal Impact is proudly sponsored by Wood Wheaton Supercenter, True Fire Releases, Gorilla, Black Widow Innovations, Phone Scope, and Federal Premium Ammunition.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the MD of Bonnyville. Lake adventures happen here.
Bedded on the edge or in the timber?
Right on the, just to the edge of the timber, just in.
That's what I mean. So if bedded, there's that bull there with another cow. That other bull can't be far.
No, it'll be right there.
I feel like I'm getting ready for a mule deer stalk. Same process. But dropping all of our bags, grabbing the bow, we're gonna drop in to their level and just creep along slowly until we think where we should be, and just try to challenge them. And I think it's gonna be fun. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I like our odds.
We had slowly worked our way to within a couple hundred yards of where we had last seen them. As we set up and waited while Nate was calling, it didn't take long before we could hear two separate bulls getting fired up and grunting back. We didn't know which one was which, and to be entirely honest, we didn't even fully know exactly how big either of them were. The sound of them crashing through the brush as they raced each other towards us is something that I'll never forget. One coming up from below us, and the second one coming from our left above us. I didn't know how it was all going to play out, but when one of them started raking brush 20 yards over our shoulder, I knew that this was going to be our chance.
Fatal Impact is proudly sponsored by Mad Ramps, High Mountain Seasoning, Arcan Trailer and RV, Block Targets, iHunter, Glendale Targets, and Deluxe Wall Tents.
This segment of the show is brought to you by Wood Wheaton Supercenter, a proud supporter of our outdoor heritage.
Too bad John didn't have a tag. Zipped right through him. There's a little bit of bubbles on there.
You obviously hit some bone because there's a
Oh yeah.
rolled edge there.
Yeah, I chipped the PX too.
4.8 yards.
That is insane. Oh. That's why I wanted to bow hunt.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have been the same. You know, we could have shot him, lean the rifle on the pack over the hill,
Right.
shoot down, but it just, then we wouldn't have seen that.
You never forget this. You never forget it. As he had been angling up, he stopped. And I can see blood on both sides, and then he went downhill. So I'm taking that as a good sign that he's getting weak.
I don't like him going that far though.
There are some bubbles, but not bright pink bubbles. It's like, I think it's external wound blood that's getting sucked in and then blown back out from his lungs.
There he is.
There he is.
Come around this way. Yeah, cool. He's all nubbed off on all of his points.
Really rounded off up top.
Yeah.
Great front center.
Yeah, big deep pans, nice paddles. That's awesome. I couldn't be more thrilled with him.
And 4.8 yards.
4.8 yards.
Sweet.
Crazy. That other,
Pretty cool, man.
that other bull was right there too, and
Yeah. Yeah, we had another bull like 20 yards from us in the bush.
yeah, I was probably gonna shoot either one. And when they come in like that, there's no
I
time
know.
to judge him. You don't know what he is. He looks good, and you pull back and try not to get run over. So
I honestly was looking at you guys thinking, because I could see you guys, and then these willows right directly above you up the slope, and the willows are just, I'm like, those boys are gonna have to bail if that ball comes straight. But luckily you looped down.
yeah,
took
he
the
come
trail
down.
like we had planned.
Yeah.
And yeah, you had the perfect setup, 4.8 yards. Gotta love it. Oh, that is so much fun.
Yeah.
Crazy,
I didn't know if they were gonna come. Like no answers, no nothing.
Right.
And then you got a little bit louder,
Yeah.
and then once the one sounded off, the other one
the other
did, and
one.
then it was a race.
And when they would grunt, I'd be real aggressive.
Yeah.
And until they were almost hyperventilating
Yeah.
to grunt back at me. As they grunt, and I just almost talk over top of them.
Yeah.
It just infuriates them.
And yeah, it was like a race. It didn't take them long to get there. They just
Yeah.
charged right in. Awesome.
Too cool, man. Too cool.
Awesome archery bull.
Looking back now that I've had a chance to let it all sink in, this trip was everything that I had hoped for and more. Mac, Leona, Nate, and the entire crew with North Curl Outfitters provided us with the absolute trip of a lifetime. We met some incredible people in camp, saw a ton of moose, and made some of my all-time favorite hunting memories that will last a lifetime. And I truly hope that I am fortunate enough to hunt the mountains of the Yukon with them again in the future.